Welcome back. We are continuing our journey into Florence Scovel Shinn's classic, The Game of Life and How to Play It.
We are. And today, we're tackling a big one. It's a concept that I think really stops people in their tracks at first.
It definitely stopped me.
Oh,
We're talking about the
what?
law of non-resistance.
Yeah, and it's so counterintuitive. We're all conditioned to believe that to win, you have to fight.
Exactly. If there's a problem, you attack it head on. If there's an obstacle, you smash through it.
But Shin opens this chapter with this ancient paradox. It sort of echoes the Taoists. She reminds us that water is actually the most powerful element.
Because it's non-resistant.
Exactly. It can wear away solid rock. It can sweep everything before it, not through force, but through flexibility.
Okay, I have to be honest, that sounds really poetic.
Mm-hmm.
And, it looks great on an inspirational poster,
Right?
but it seems to contradict everything we're taught. I mean, in business, in sports, even just basic assertiveness training, it's all about being aggressive.
Mm.
We're told the rock wins because the rock is hard. So how does softness actually work in, say, a tense corporate meeting or at a chaotic family dinner? When you get that rude email, be like water is the last thing on your mind.
You want to be like a rock.
I want to be like a rock. I want to crash right back.
And that's a totally fair pushback. It really gets to the heart of the misunderstanding around this law.
The idea that softness is weakness.
Right. Everyone equates softness with weakness. But Shin isn't talking about weakness. She's really talking about, physics.
Physics. How so?
Think about friction. She has this incredibly provocative phrase. She says, resistance is hell.
Wow.
Yeah. And she doesn't mean a literal place with fire. She means it creates a state of torment for the human mind.
So when we're resisting something, fighting traffic, fighting our own feelings, fighting reality, we're basically just torturing ourselves.
You're burning up your own energy through internal friction. It's like your own engine is overheating because you're slamming on the accelerator while the parking brake is on.
That is a powerful image. And I think that brings us to the mission for today's conversation. We need to unpack this whole law of non-resistance, but really carefully.
Yeah, we need to look at why fighting back actually seems to feed the very problems we're trying to get rid of.
And we have to translate this, this 1920s metaphysical language into something practical, something modern. Because it turns out what Shinn was calling non-resistance, modern psychologists have other names for.
They do. They call it emotional regulation and cognitive flexibility. We're going to break down how you pivot from just reacting to creating.
Spiritual jujitsu.
It's exactly that. Instead of trying to block a punch, you use the energy of your opponent to just clear your own path.
Okay, I'm ready to learn some spiritual jujitsu. But, I'm still a little skeptical until I see how this works in the real world.
Of course.
And before we get into the mechanics, just a quick thought. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one. It really does help get this information out to more people.
So let's start with Shinn's core point. Why does she say resistance is so dangerous? It all comes back to her model of the subconscious mind.
Which she calls a faithful servant.
A faithful servant, but, and this is the absolute key, it has no sense of humor.
I've heard that phrase before, but let's drill down on it. What does that actually mean? No sense of humor.
It means the subconscious, or, in today's terms, your limbic system and the neural pathways you keep reinforcing. It doesn't judge things as good or bad.
It only judges intensity.
Intensity and repetition. That's it. So Shin explains that whatever you feel deeply, whether it's anger at your boss or fear about money or resentment, that feeling gets impressed upon the subconscious.
So it's like a recording device that doesn't get the context. It just records the feeling.
It's more like a programmable autopilot. So if you're constantly feeling the emotion of struggle, if you wake up every single day thinking, ugh, life is a battle, I have to fight my debt, I have to fight this difficult person, you are impressing the feeling of fight onto that autopilot.
And because it's a faithful servant.
Its job is to go out and find more things to fight. It literally scans your environment to externalize that feeling into your reality.
So if I'm constantly feeling angry about a situation, I'm basically sending my subconscious a command that says, I'm angry, please give me more reasons to be angry.
You're priming your brain's filter, the reticular activating system, to notice conflict everywhere. And this leads right into what Shin calls the vortex concept.
The vortex of discord.
Yes. Resisting a situation, she argues, creates this swirl of negative energy.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Can we invent a character? Let's call him Bob. Bob's an accountant. Good guy, but he's totally stressed out.
Okay, Bob's a great example. So Bob wakes up, First thing he remembers is this passive-aggressive email from his colleague, Steve, that he got late last night.
We've all gotten that email.
Right. He didn't reply yet, but he is resisting the reality of that email, so he's in the shower and he's arguing with Steve in his head.
Oh, I know that argument.
He's in his car, rehearsing what he should have said. He's creating a vortex. He's just churning up this negative emotion.
So he's creating what, like a magnetic field of anger around himself?
Exactly. By the time he walks into the office, his whole body language is tight. His tone is already sharp. Even if he avoids Steve, Bob is just vibrating with conflict.
So he's more likely to snap at someone else or misread a totally neutral email as an attack.
Of course. And this reminds me of that old saying, what you resist persists.
Paul Young said that, right?
He did, and Shinn is saying the very same thing. Just think about it in terms of attention. Attention is a form of energy.
Okay.
So if you are fighting something like Bob fighting the idea of Steve, all of your attention is locked onto Steve. You are feeding Steve your precious cognitive energy. You're keeping that problem alive and well in your reality because you literally can't look away from it.
It's like if you run away from a dog in fear, it chases you.
Yes.
If you fight a problem with anger, it seems to get stronger.
Yeah.
It's almost like the problem literally feeds on your emotional reaction.
That is the mechanism. The emotional charge is the fuel. Shinn's whole point is that as long as you are emotionally reacting to a problem, you are bound to it. You are tied to it with this invisible rope.
So non-resistance isn't about saying, oh, what Steve did was okay.
Not at all. It's not about approving of it. It's about severing that emotional tie so the problem stops getting your energy.
I see the logic there. If I'm obsessing over my enemy, then my enemy owns my brain.
They live there rent-free.
But let's see that translation. Because I know some people listening, the very logical ones, might be thinking, okay, this sounds nice metaphysically, but what is the psychology here?
It is pure psychology. In plain English, non-resistance is just what we now call a calm response, or, as we said, emotional regulation. It's the ability to stop a knee-jerk reaction.
There's that famous quote, I think it's from Viktor Frankl or Stephen Covey.
Between stimulus and response, there is a space.
In that space is our power to choose our response.
In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That space is everything.
And resistance is when there's no space. Steve sends the email, that's the stimulus. Bob gets instantly angry, that's the response. Zero space.
Correct. Non-resistance is the conscious act of widening that space. It's refusing to let the outside world dictate your inside state.
Sounds a lot like Stoicism.
It's deeply connected. Marcus Aurelius talked about assent. He said we can't control the first impression, the rude comment, the flat tire. That's just what happens.
It's stimulus.
The stimulus. But we can refuse to give it our assent. We can refuse to add the second layer of judgment that says this is a catastrophe, this is awful. We can refuse to let it disturb our inner peace.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here. Isn't anger useful sometimes? Isn't it a motivator? If Buck just stays calm, maybe he never actually fixes the problem with Steve.
That's such a common misconception. We think we need that adrenaline rush of anger to take action, but look at the research on decision-making under stress.
It's not good.
It's terrible. When you're angry, your prefrontal cortex, the smart, logical, strategic part of your brain, it starts to shut down. Your amygdala, the reptile brain, takes over.
So you're operating on pure instinct.
Animal instinct. You might take action, sure, but it's probably going to be clumsy, aggressive, and short-sighted. Non-resistance keeps that prefrontal cortex online. You can still confront Steve, but you do it with a scalpel, not a sledgehammer.
So it's refusal to react, followed by clean redirection. You stop feeding the problem, and then you turn all that saved energy toward the solution.
Yes, you get to keep all your IQ points.
Now we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Whatever the topic comes up, non-resistance, turning the other cheek, people get nervous.
I know exactly where you're going.
They think, if I do this, people are going to walk all over me. I'm going to be a doormat. I mean, if Bob just smiles at Steve's insults, isn't Steve just going to keep doing it?
This is the doormat myth, and it is so important that we debunk this right now. Non-resistance is not passivity. It is not weakness.
Shinn says it's a position of strength.
She says, nothing on earth can resist an absolutely non-resistant person. She sees it as the ultimate power.
You brought up Aristotle in the notes, and I thought that distinction was just brilliant.
Yeah, Aristotle, in his Ethics, he talked about virtues. And for him, a virtue is always the mean, the balance between two extremes.
The two vices.
Right, so he talks about the virtue of gentleness. On one extreme, you have the person who gets angry at everything. That's a vice. But on the other extreme, you have the person who never defends themselves, who just lets people mistreat them.
And he didn't see that as a virtue.
No, he called that slavishness. He saw it as a failure to value yourself. The goal isn't to be slavish. The goal is to be unperturbed.
To be the master of the situation.
Yeah,
So non-resistance means I'm not reacting out of fear or anger, but I am 100% capable of setting a boundary.
absolutely. In fact, a boundary that's set without any anger is often terrifyingly powerful.
How so?
Well, think about it. If someone is screaming at you and you scream back, you're both just reacting. It's a mud fight. You're on the same level.
Right, it's just chaos.
But if someone screams at you and you just look at them with total calm, zero fear, and you say, I'm not going to continue this conversation while you're yelling, what does that signal?
It signals that you're not playing their game. You're the adult in the room.
You've stepped out of the game of conflict entirely. That's non-resistance. It's saying no with total calm. It's defending the truth without losing your temper.
And this state of calm is actually what you need to take effective action. If you're panicking, you can't think clearly.
Which brings us to the reaction trap. When we argue with reality, when we're standing in the rain screaming, it shouldn't be raining, we are just wasting cognitive bandwidth.
In therapy, they call that radical acceptance,
Yeah,
right?
in GBT, the idea is that pain in life is inevitable. You're going to get wet sometimes. But suffering is optional. Suffering comes from refusing to accept the fact that it's raining.
And when we're stuck in that suffering, that refusal, we get caught in what you call the rumination loop. This takes us right back to Bob.
The rumination loop is so dangerous because, going back to Shinn's model, the subconscious can't tell the difference between a real event and one you vividly imagined.
Neuroscience backs that up.
It does.
Yeah.
If Bob has that actual argument with Steve at 10 a.m., that's one biological stress event, cortisol spikes, then it comes down.
That's not what happens.
No. Bob replays that argument in his head 50 more times during the day. He rehearses what he should have said, feels that anger rise up every single time. He has just impressed that conflict on his subconscious 51 times.
He's literally praying for what he doesn't want, visualizing conflict over and over.
And physically, he's just marinating his organs in stress hormones. This leads to the scarcity mindset. Research shows that when we're in a state of panic, our cognitive bandwidth literally shrinks.
We get tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah.
We can't see creative solutions because our brain is so focused on the threat. By staying calm, by practicing non-resistance, you are actually keeping your full intelligence online. You keep your options open.
Okay, so we know what it is. We know why we need it. Let's get to the how. The method is called release and step. What's the first step?
Step one is the internal drop. You have to release the inner fight. You have to catch yourself in that moment of tension. Your shoulders are tight, your jaw is clenched, your mind is racing.
I hate this. This is wrong.
Yes. And you have to interrupt that pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Shinn suggests using a specific phrase like, none of these things move me, or you could just say, I release the struggle.
It sounds almost physical, like dropping your end of the rope in a tug of war.
It is physical. You're in a tug of war with a monster, and you realize the only way to win is to just drop the rope. The monster goes tumbling because it has nothing to pull against anymore.
And once you drop the rope, once that emotional charge is gone, then you move to step two.
The next right step. This is the Taoist water method. You flow around the obstacle, you take the logical, necessary action, but you do it without all that baggage of fear and anger.
Drop the emotion first, then take the action.
That is the crucial sequence. Most of us try to take action while we're drowning in the emotion, and it never works.
Let's make this super real with those examples. We have work, relationships, and habits. Let's stick with Bob for the work one.
Okay, scenario. Bob gets another one of those unfair emails from Steve, or maybe a sudden unreasonable deadline from his boss.
The trap is immediate. It's the amygdala hijack. Bob spirals into imposter syndrome. Oh no, I'm going to get fired. I can't do this. Or he goes into defensive anger. Steve's an idiot. I'm going to HR.
Right. And if Bob acts from that place, he'll send a snarky email back that gets him into more trouble, or he'll just shut down and miss the deadline anyway.
So what's the non-resistant shift?
It's using what's called cognitive appraisal. Bob looks at the email and he consciously relabels it. Instead of labeling the feedback as an attack, he just labels it as data.
Data, not attack. I like that. It just strips all the emotion out.
It neutralizes the threat. He acknowledges the feedback calmly. He can say to himself, okay, the deadline is unreasonable. That is a fact. What's the solution? He doesn't internalize the poison. He keeps his inner sense of self-worth separate from the external event.
And then the action is to calmly deal with the data.
Exactly. He can review the work, or he can walk into his boss's office and say, from a place of professional, cool, I can get this done, but to meet that deadline, I'll need these resources.
Okay, example 2. Relationships. The big one.
Mm-hmm.
A partner or friend snaps at you over something small. The classic dishes in the sink.
The trap is the boomerang effect. They throw anger at you, you catch it, and you throw it right back. Well, at least I did the dishes, you never take out the trash.
And suddenly you're fighting about the last 10 years.
You're both just reacting inside that vortex. You're feeding the storm. The non-resistant shift is that soft answer that turns away wrath. You have to realize in that moment that their anger is their storm. It's not yours. You don't have to let it into your house.
This is assertive patience. But wait, does this mean I just quietly do the dishes and say nothing? That feels like the doormat again.
Not at all. You hold space without engaging in the fight. You don't say, you're right, I'm a terrible person. You say something like, I can see you're really upset right now. I'm happy to talk about the dishes, but let's do it when we're both calmer.
So you're setting a boundary on the conflict itself.
A boundary on the way you communicate. You're doing it with love and a total lack of resistance. You are refusing to add your fuel to their fire. You're refusing to escalate.
It's so disarming. When someone is geared up for a fight and you just calmly refuse to participate, they don't know what to do.
The energy just dissipates. Shinn says, face a situation fearlessly, and there's no situation to face. It falls away of its own weight.
Okay, example 3. Habits. This one's internal. You're on a diet or you're trying to quit a bad habit, you slip up, you eat the cookie, you scroll on your phone for 2 hours.
The trap here is a real psychological term. It's the what the hell effect.
I know this one well.
You eat one cookie, you feel like a failure, and so you say, what the hell, I've already blown it, and then you eat the entire box. It's self-hate disguised as accountability.
We think punishing ourselves is how we learn.
But it's just another form of resistance. You're fighting the past. You are resisting the fact that you already ate the cookie. The non-resistant shift is what Shinn calls transmutation. You baptize the failure, you look at the mistake and just say, okay, that happened, what's the lesson here?
So no guilt spiral.
Zero guilt. Guilt is resistance. Guilt keeps you stuck in the past, focused on the failure. The non-resistant approach is to immediately return to the routine. You use an implementation intention. You say, okay, I slipped. Next time I feel that stress, I will go for a walk. You reestablish the plan and move on instantly. You flow around your own failure.
That's a huge idea. Guilt is resistance. We think it's how we stay on track, but maybe it's just how we stay stuck.
It keeps your attention locked on the problem, not on the solution.
I want to walk everyone listening through that exercise you outlined. If you're able to, you could do this right now. If you're driving, just follow along mentally. This is the non-resistant reset.
Right. It's a 7-step process to shift your state in real time, to get you out of the vortex and back on solid ground.
Okay, step 1. Name what you are resisting. Right now, just identify it. Don't try to solve it. Just name it. Is it your debt? Is it a coworker? Is it the traffic?
Be specific. Say in your head, I am resisting this deadline, or I am resisting this feeling in my body.
Step 2. Notice the story you are repeating about it. What's that loop playing in your head?
It's usually something like, this is unfair, or I can't handle this, or it will never get better. Just notice it. See it for what it is, a story, not necessarily the truth.
Step 3. Drop the inner fight. This is the physical release we talked about. Say the phrase, I release this struggle.
And really do it physically. Visualize the tension just draining out of your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Feel gravity. Stop bracing against the world for a second.
Step 4. Choose one clean boundary you will keep. This is how we avoid the doormat trap.
Decide on one thing you will not do. I will not check my email after 7 p.m., or I will not engage in worried conversations about this bet.
Step 5. Speak one calm statement that redirects your focus.
This is your pivot, your affirmation. Something like, there is a solution and I am finding it. Or, I am calm and capable.
Step 6. Take one small outward action that matches your boundary.
Make that one small payment. Send that polite no email. Close the laptop. Do something physical that proves to your subconscious that you've shifted.
And finally, step 7. Remove one contradiction.
This one is huge. Shinn says you have to prepare for the thing you asked for. If you say you want peace, but you spend an hour gossiping about your enemy, that's a contradiction. Identify one leak in your system, a complaining loop, revenge fantasies, doom scrolling, and just stop it.
You can't build a new house while you're still setting fire to the foundation. That reset is so powerful.
You can do it in under 5 minutes, and it can completely change the rest of your day.
Before we wrap, let's troubleshoot. What are the common mistakes people make when they try this? Because it sounds simple, but it's not always easy.
The first mistake is confusing a feeling with a fact. You feel fear, so you assume you're in real danger. You feel angry, so you assume you're right. You have to remember feelings are just impressions. You can notice them without having to agree with them.
Mistake number 2, spiritual bypassing, the toxic positivity trap.
Yeah, this is pretending it doesn't hurt. It's all love and light when you're secretly seething. That's just suppression, which is resistance with a smile on. You have to acknowledge the pain. Ouch, this hurts. But you don't have to suffer over it by adding the story. This is unfair and it shouldn't be happening.
Which leads to the third mistake, suppression itself, the white bear effect.
If I tell you don't think of a white bear, it's all you can think about. Trying not to think about your problem just makes you obsess. The fix is replacement. You have to focus on the solution, on the new image. You can't just create a vacuum in your mind. You have to fill it with something better.
Mistake 4, waiting to feel like doing it. I'll be non-resistant once I feel calm.
It's backwards. Action comes before the feeling. It's called behavioral activation. Act calm, speak calmly, and the feeling of calm will actually follow. You have to jump in before you feel ready.
And the last one, mistake 5, judging the process.
Yeah, thinking, oh, I got angry again, I failed. No, this is a game, a practice. If you slip, you just reset. No guilt. Guilt is just one more form of resistance. Just get back to it.
This has been a massive download. Let's do a quick recap of the key takeaways to really lock this in.
Let's do it. First, non-resistance is power, not weakness. It's water wearing away the rock.
Second, resistance feeds the obstacle. Your attention is your energy. Don't give it to things you don't want.
Third, the trap is arguing with reality. You will always lose that argument, and it drains your brain power.
Fourth, the method is simple. Release the internal fight first, then take the external action.
Fifth, boundaries are a key part of this. You can absolutely say no with a calm smile.
Sixth, watch your words. No complaining, no rehearsing grievances.
And seventh, remember this is all a game of energy management. Your job is to keep your energy clean.
And that sets the stage so perfectly for our next conversation. Because once you stop resisting, once you clear all that static,
You can finally start putting new, clean energy out into the world. And that brings us to episode 5, the law of karma.
we're going to explore Shinn's idea that the game of life is a game of boomerangs.
What you send out with, she says, mathematical precision is what comes back to you.
You are not going to want to miss that one. We'll talk about how to start throwing some really good boomerangs.
Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.